how it is.
Okay, good morning, everyone. We are on Mem Beis Amud Aleph. Tony Rabbanan. Tzitzis ein tzitzis ela anaf. Achenu Omer v'kacheni b'tzitzis Rashi v'Amar Abai v'tzarich lifroda kitzutzisa da'aramai. So tzitzis over here is talking about the anaf, which we said is the hanging part. The anaf is the hanging part. Can I borrow the talus again? I'm sorry, I meant to bring mine today.
Why is it called anaf? Like a not branch?
I don't know. The branch of it. Not a branch, but it sounds like it might be the branches of the thing.
Maybe because you're modest, because you put
the branch of this. Right. The branches. So this is the anaf, we said, and it has to be like the proda kitusisa daramai, as Rashi says, like the hair of an ove kochavim, which is braided over here and then loose over here, like the way Alan's hair used to be, but now it's a little shorter. Yeah.
Seeds, no, because it's all about growth, and seeds is also a growth.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting.
Okay, I can leave that.
Tana Rabbanan.
Now we can stay now.
Hitil ala keren o ala gadil keshera Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov posel b'shtehen. So this is a case where different opinions according to Rashi. Ala keren is al sfat chuda shel keren. It's like right near the tip or the corner. And the gadil is a heavy thread at the end of the garment to prevent it from tearing. Both of these, if you put the tzitzis on there, it's going to be kosher. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is posel b'shneihen. He say it's possible on both. Says Gemara, Kaman Alza Hadamar of Gidal Marav, Tzitzis Tzricha Shadheino Tefet ala Keren. Where do you see that tzitzis need to strike against the Keren? Shneim al Kanfridem Kaman Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. So it seems like, based on this discussion, he's saying that it's possible if you put him on the Keren or on the Gedil. Again, the Keren would be literally like right here on the actual corner, like right here, very, very close. And the Gedil, as we're explaining over according to Rashi, would be the heavy thread at the end of the garment to prevent it from tearing. It would be like this actually coming out. So both of them are near the very edge. What's the problem with that? Why is that a problem according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov? Because they have to strike against the keren. They have to be shtei mak ala keren. Why? Because it says shenemar al kanfei v'dehem. Keman Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. So he says it's possible because that's to be al kanfei v'dehem. Sorry. The tzitzis need to be al kanfei v'dehem. How are they al kanfei v'dehem? And actually there are those who explain Rashi, which is why there's a machlokes. How are you supposed to have your tzitzis? If you look over here, many people have them on the bottom. Right? This is how you're wearing it, so it's on the bottom. This Gemara is talking about striking the tzitzis. It seems like it's saying it needs to be over here, on the side, so that when it's like this, it's always striking against the corner. Al kanfei v'dehem. That's one of the what? Well, you're saying this is the bottom, but now it's hanging off the side, and every time you move, it's striking against the corner. No, this is the talus. It's like this. Whatever it is, you understand what I'm saying? This is the, whatever it is. This is the bottom, and it's supposed to be on the side, not on the bottom. So it's on the side, now it's striking against. So according to the other opinion, no, it's not a big deal, it doesn't have to strike against. It doesn't have to strike against, then the hole can be even all the way down, it could be hanging from the edge of the garment. If you need to strike it against, then it needs to be a little bit higher up. It can't be towards the bottom, it needs to be higher up so that it can hang like this.
That's hard to control.
Well, no, you have to make sure that you put your tzitzis like that.
Yeah, but during the day, it might...
Don't move so much. Says the Gemara. Amar, that's why you should be sitting and learning. If you sit and learn, nothing happens. Amar Rabbi Yaakov, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. So now we have a whole discussion here. If we're going to talk about and assuming that it can't be directly on the edge, it needs to be hanging over the edge. So how far does it need to be from the edge? What did we say the other day? Anybody remember? 3 finger widths. That was Rav Papa. It needs to be at least 3 finger breadths or widths from the edge. Now we have another opinion that says Melo Kesher Godel. It needs to be the thumb joint. What's the thumb joint? That's from here, from the tip of the nail over here, to the first joint. Now, which is bigger? This part right here, this, or 3? Obviously, 3 is going to be bigger. So, how are we going to work these two together? So, we're going to say the tzitzis, and if you measure the tzitzis, you'll actually see this is exactly what it is. It's between this much. That means it can't be this close to the edge. It needs to be at least this much away from the edge, but it can't be more than this much away from the edge. So, he was, as we're going to see in a second, he was saying the maximum amount, 3 etzbos. And he was saying the minimum amount, so it needs to be somewhere between this and that. And obviously, as the Gemara is about to say, well, it needs to tell me both. Because if it would have just told me this, I would have thought minimum, but I can make it as far away as I want. Therefore, it tells me maximum. If it only tells me maximum, then I could say that's maximum, but minimum is even at the edge of the garment, therefore it needs to tell me minimum. That's what the Gemara says. But if you actually measure our tzitzis over here, the hole, if you measure the hole, it's more than this, right? But it's less than 3 etzbos. So it's in between 3 etzbos. So now you know why we do what we do. Says the Gemara.
Where's the 3 hole come from? The 2 hole come from?
I don't even know what, I don't know. You have 2 holes?
Some people have.
Mendel, you have 2 holes? It's a Chabad thing? It's a, what is
No,
that?
I don't. But some people buy with 2 holes.
You have 2 holes on your tzitzis or 1 hole?
My tzitzit or my...
The hole in the corner. You have 2 or 1 on your talis?
I have 2.
Same as this, no?
1, right, okay. Says the Gemara. Vitzrei to Rav Papa, Vitzrei to Rav Yaakov. Dimi to Rav Papa, who says 3 etzbos, Havamina Tol Gimel, Dilo Lirchak Tvei V'chama Demikar Male. He says it just needs to be within 3 etzbos, but you can put it as close to the edge as you want. It's Rav Rabbi Yaakov to say it can't be that close, it needs to be at least this much away. V'imi to Rabbi Yaakov Avamina Below Kesher Gadol Lo Likari Tvei V'chama Demarchik Male Tzricha. But if you had only the second opinion that we just had, you think as long as it's this far away, it's enough. But it could be as far away as you want. It could be all the way over here. Says the Gemara, no, you have to have both. Al kanfei vigdehem. Fine, says the Gemara, Ravina, story time. Rav Sama havayasvi kamei de Ravashi. Chazi Rav Sama. So Ravina and Rav Sama were sitting in front of Ravashi. Rav Sama saw lekarne de glime de Ravina desasser. He saw that the hole in the corner of the glima of Ravina was torn. Ubatzar mimale keshagada. Look, because look what happens when you have the hole here. Well, if you have the hole here, if this hole is torn, then the tzitzis are going to start coming closer and closer. The whole tzitzit thing is going to move down to the corner. Now it's too close to the corner because the hole was torn. So he says to him, look, your hole is torn. The tzitzis are coming too close to the corner. Says the Gemara, Amar le lo savar la lahada Rav Yaakov. Do you not hold to Rabbi Yaakov that it needs to be at least 1 like this away from a thumb joint away? Amar le b'shas asiyah idmar. You was when I made it, but when he rips afterwards, nu gamze yavor ichsif. So he was embarrassed. Why? Because Rav Sama was embarrassed that Ravina had an answer for him. Don't be embarrassed that Ravina answered you. He's from Eretz Yisrael. 1 Eretz Yisrael man is like 2 Babylonians. They're much smarter than we are. Therefore, the fact that in Eretz Yisrael, Amora, Ravina was able to answer you, don't worry about it. He's much smarter than we are. Ravacha bar Yaakov, another story. Ravacha bar Yaakov, Rami Arba v'ayif lehu me'af u'me'al lehu glima v'yavik lehu mevak. So now we have 3 different ways of understanding exactly how we make our tzitzis. So how do we make our tzitzis? We take 4 strings, we put them through the hole, and then we basically have them hanging down on both sides, and then we go ahead with the long one and tie it, right? This opinion, which is very interesting, that's going to be the 3rd opinion. The opinion that we don't hold, like the first 2, Ravacha would take 4 strings. What would he do? Watch. He would take 4 strings, but before he put them through the hole, he wouldn't put them through the hole and then let them go down. He would take them and he would make a loop like this. And these would be the 4 strings loop, so really there's 8 right here. There's 8. He would put this loop through the hole, and then he would take the loose parts and go through there and make a slip knot. So again, instead of putting the 4 strings the way that we do it, all 4 strings, and then they're basically hanging down like this, 4 on each side, he would make the loop, put the loop in through, like when you're like doing shoelaces sometimes, puts the loop through the hole. So now you got a hole, now you have the hole with the, basically if you look at it like this, you have 8 strings in a loop coming out like this. You have a loop coming out like this, and then you have the 8 strings hanging through here, right? The 8 strings are hanging through the hole like this, and then the other side is looped. Then he would take the loose strings, put them through the loop, and pull. So that's how it would stay. You would only see loose strings. Maybe he would not after. You only see loose strings, but what would you see? You would have a total of, you'd have the 8 strings through the loop in the first place. That's what you would have. Says the Gemara, what do we have? We have 4 and 4. He did it so that he dafka had all 8 hanging on the thing. Says the Gemara, it's not how we do it. Why did he do that? He made a slip knot. He felt that you need to have 8. You need to have a total of 8 threads pass through the garment. Because the word gedil we said is 2. Gedilim, like we said, is 4. That's why we use 4. But gedilim is spelled gimel damad lamed yud mem. He felt that the yud was extra. So you take the gedilim, which is 4, and you double it to 8. Therefore, all 8 need to pass through the garment. We only pass 4 through the garment, and then we fold them over. Rav Yirmiyah b'diftei rami tmanya de'inu shitzar v'lo avik lehu. What did he do? He did something else. He would actually take 8 threads, l'chadchila. He would take 8 threads through the hole and do it like we do it. So now he had 8 on each side. He had 16 total. He wouldn't do the slip knot. He would make it the way that we do it, but he would make 8. Because again, he held, similarly, he's one who held with the yud, that Gedilim is 4 and 4 is 8 threads. Gedilim, sorry, the first opinion felt that Gedilim was 4. One second. Gedilim by itself, Gedil is 2. Gedilim is 4. So the first opinion held you have to take 4 strings, and you just have to fold them over before you put them in, which is a total of 8, like we said, and then you make the slip knot, you have 8 total. Second opinion is that Gedilim with the Yud is actually 4 plus 4 is 8. It's 4 doubled. Now you have to take 8 actual strings. You don't do the same thing with the slip knot, but you put all 8 through the way that we do it, then you tie them. Now you have 16 strings basically hanging, 8 on each side. And then the way that we do it is you have the 4 through, and then you have the 8 hanging. That's how the Gemara says. One second. And then we have Marbe de Ravina Avid Kididan. He did like we do, and Shalom Yisrael. Did they say that you need?
Bishama says you need 4, and then Yisrael said we need 3. And we ended up going like also Bishama. We said that like 4, 3, and 4 had to be this big 4 and that many strings. And
Right, but again, so we don't pass on these, but these are giving 2 other opinions that you have to, according to, well, the other opinion it says you have to have 4 strings also. We're just saying the way that you would loop it. That's the first one. But the second opinion is 8, which we haven't seen yet. Correct.
You would think that wouldn't be a Masorah would forget because everyone had tzitzis. Just look what your fathers or grandfathers are doing.
Right. So again, we're not. I don't know if it's necessarily Masorah. It's just there's always been a machlokas as to how to interpret the word Gedilim.
From day one.
Yeah.
From Moshe Rabbeinu.
It's an encore, so they end up saying like Kididan. Like what on earth is Kididan?
Like we do it.
Well, how do we know what we do? And Rashi tells us very nicely, like we do 4.
We do 4, right? So it must be that for some reason they had a Masorah to do other ones.
Like it must be like everybody knows how you do it.
Right.
And
Sounds like there was somehow there was a Masorah for them to do it differently. Yeah. Rav Nachman Ashkechei l'Rav Ada Barav. It is weird. Rami Chute v'Kamer Verach Lat Tzitzis. Okay, so now we have another thing. Now the question becomes: you have to make a bracha when you put on the tzitzis. So we know we don't make a bracha when you put on the tzitzis. But what's pshat? So Rav Nachman Ashkechei l'Rav Ada Barav Rami Chute v'Kamer Verach Lat Tzitzis. He would actually put them on. Rav when he would Ada Barav when he would put on the tzitzis. Amalei my tzitzi shmana. Hachi Amarav tzitzis ain't tzricha bracha. Why are you doing that? Rav said tzitzis do not need a bracha when you put them on, when you make them, when you tie them, when you affix them. Kinach nafshi, not when you wear them, when you affix them. Kinach nafshi de Ravuna al Rav Chisda lemirma de Rav ad Rav. And then he has a question of Rav on Rav. Miyamar Rav tzitzin tzarech bracha. So again, the first thing Rav says is that when you affix tzitzis, when you actually make the tzitzis, you don't need a bracha. Problem is that Rav says something else. Rav says that if tzitzis are made, if tzitzis are made and affixed by a non-Jew, then they're pasul. Shnei dabel b'nei Yisrael v'asula hem tzitzis b'nei Yisrael yasu v'lo ove kochavim yasu. So that's the contradiction. What do you mean that's the contradiction? What's the contradiction? The first thing is that he says that you don't make a bracha when you make the tzitzis, and the second thing is that ove kochavim cannot make the tzitzis. Why is that a contradiction? V'hamayrum, what's the contradiction? Rav Yosef Kisav Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda felt, what was the contradiction? Kol mitzvah sheksheru bo v'kucham b'Yisrael in tzarech levarach. Because Rav Chisda felt that there's another rule. Anything that is kosher for a Yisrael to do and not for an Ovei Kochavim to do, you make a bracha. But anything that an Ovei Kochavim that he can do also, then I don't make a bracha. Kol mitzvah shepsula b'Yisrael tzarech levarach. Therefore, what? It's a problem because if tzitzis, according to Rav, cannot be affixed by a non-Jew, then by definition, when a Jew does it, he needs to make a bracha, according to this rule that we're talking about. So how could he say that they can't be affixed by a non-Jew, and also say that they don't need a bracha when a Jew affixes them? Uklalahu, is this a klal? Hare mila diksher b'vecham. We know that mila is kosher by a non-Jew, and yet we make a bracha on the mila. Detani irshein barofe Yisrael v'yesh barofe aramai v'rofe kusi yimol aramai v'yimol kusi de Rabbi Meir Rabbi Yehuda Omer kusi v'lo aramai. So machlokes, which one of the two non-Jews is better? But they both agree that the non-Jewish doctor can do it. Uvi Yisrael tzarech levarech, and yet when Yisrael does the mila, he makes a bracha. Diamar mar hamal omer baruch asher gsham b'tzav yitzvanu ala mila. How could it be that he makes a bracha if it's something that's kosher by a non-Jew? Says the Gemara, you're right. Midi hu taime el Rav, Rav mitzvah. So the whole question here is against Rav, and Rav actually says it's possible for an Ovei Kochavim to do a mila. So now we have the question still on Rav. If you're going to show me from mila that the klal is not true, then there's no problem on Rav. If there's no klal that when it's possible by an Ovei Kochavim, we know the Metzius is that you make a bracha on the mila. and we know that a non-Jew can do it. Well, if we see that a non-Jew can do it and you make a bracha, you see that there's no klal that has anything to do with non-Jews doing it or not doing it, it's not true. But according to Rav, we could still ask that, because Rav, we still seemingly have the klal. Because Rav says what? Rav says that Mila, a non-Jew cannot do it. Seemingly that's why there's a bracha by Mila when a Jew does it. But then again, we're back to the original question on Rav. Rav, who holds that a non-Jew can do the Mila, and we make a bracha, seemingly if a non-Jew cannot do the tzitzis, then what? If he cannot do the tzitzis, so then we should make a bracha on the tzitzis. Says the Gemara, "De'idmar minayin lemila bovei kochavim shepsula daru bar papa mishmei derav amar v'atos b'titi shmor Rav Yochanan amar himol yimol hamal yimol." What are the two reasons that it would be usher, according to this opinion, for a non-Jew to do the milah? Israel, because it says as b'titi shmor, ata you Avram, only a Jew, or himol yimol hamal yimol, only the one who got a milah can actually do a milah. Says the Gemara, Sukkah misayele. So we're saying you and all your future generations. Sukkah misayele tefillin haveti yufta. Sukkah is going to support the question against Rav, i.e., we're going to see that by Sukkah, that since an ovei kochavim can do it, therefore we don't make a bracha when we make it. That supports the question, because as long as we keep this principle, if an ovei kochavim makes your Sukkah for you, then it's kosher, therefore, yeah, we have to fix the schach. But if he makes it for you, it's kosher. That's why we don't make a bracha al asiyas sukkah. The problem is tefillin, we'll see. Because once we could throw out this klal, then we can say, well, Rav doesn't have to hold to this klal. Right now, we're assuming that the question on Rav is because Rav is holding of this klal, that there's a klal that we can say that Rav holds, like, whenever a non-Jew can't do it, a Jew makes a bracha. Therefore, tzitzis, he should make a bracha. Says the Gemara, D'Tanya, where do you see Sare Sukkah Dikshera Bovei Kochavim D'Tanya Sukkahs Ovei Kochavim Sukkahs Nashim Sukkahs Behema Sukkahs Kusim Sukkahs Mikol Malkum Kshero Vachatem Mitzchachas Kehochasa Uvi Yisrael Ein Sarach Levarich. Even though a non-Jew can build your sukkah, if a Jew builds a sukkah, he doesn't make a bracha. D'Tanya Osa Sukkah Latzmo Omer Bracha Ta Hashem Lakim Echlam Shechion V'Kion V'Yon Ozmanzeh. You make a shechana, which we don't do. We make the first night. Ba Leishe Ba Omer Bracha Ta Hashem Lakim Echlam Asher Kishon Bin Tzav Svanu Leishe Ba Sukkah V'Yilu Lasa Sukkah Lo Mevarich, which is perfect. You don't make a bracha when you make the sukkah, because a non-Jew can make the sukkah for you. Therefore, you don't make a bracha. We still have the kash and Rav. It's fascinating. I always find it fascinating that DAF Yomi somehow always overlaps with everything that we're doing in life.
It won't be so good. It just happens this.
How do you know next time won't be good? Next time there'll be another DAF. So there'll be another DAF that talks about sukkah.
Okay, but it won't be this one.
No, what DAF? What DAF is it going to be in 7.5 years? What's it going to be, DAF? What DAF is it going to be? You should know.
6 months on.
It might be Menachos Sukkah. You never know. Whatever it is. The point is that another DAF will reference it in Rashi and Tosfos, whatever it is. In Yana Diyoma. Siyata Dishmaya. Says the Gemara, Tefillin Tiyufta. So now we still have our question on Rav. Because we've basically seen anytime a non-Jew can do it, we don't make a bracha. Anytime a non-Jew can't do it, we do make a bracha. Therefore, tzitzis makes no sense. If a non-Jew can't do it, you should make a bracha. Tefillin is the Tiyufta on the question on Rav, which will save Rav and not have to answer. Why is tefillin the tiyufta? For a tefillin dipsulos b'ovei, because a ovei is not allowed to write tefillin, and yet what do we know? We don't make a bracha when we make the tefillin. D'Tani Rabbi Chanina bar Brei Derava, Hina Brei Derava. Miparshranai. Say Torah tefillin mezuzah shekosvan stuki kusi ovechavim eved isha v'katan mumar psulin shnemar uksharta muchsaftem kol sheyeshno b'kshira yeshno b'ksiva kol she'eno b'kshira eno b'ksiva uvi Yisrael ein tzarech levarech. Therefore Yisrael does not make a bracha because only somebody ukshartam uchsaftam. Only a person that does the kshira can do their ksiva. Therefore, an ovei kochavim who can't do the kshira, doesn't do the kshira, doesn't put on the tefillin, can't write it. He can't write it. Therefore, by definition, what? According to your svara, which is a question on Rav, according to your svara, when a Jew makes the tefillin, he should actually what? He should have to make a bracha al asiyas tefillin, because at the end of the day, a non-Jew can't do it. You see, it's not true. Therefore, your klal is not true. Therefore, Rav doesn't have to hold of any klals that are not true. And therefore, the fact that Rav says that a tzitzis cannot be made by a non-Jew, and yet we don't make a bracha, that's not a problem. Shalom al Yisrael. The Shalach Rechia Brei de Rav Huna Mishmei de Rav Yochanan al Tefillin Sheyad Omer Baruch Asher Kshem Mitzvah Tzanu Laniach Tefillin al Tefillin Sherosh Omer Baruch Asher Kshem Mitzvah Tzanu al Mitzvah Tefillin Vilu Lasos Tefillin Lo Mevarich El Alav Hainu Taima. So the bottom line is we don't make it. So if we threw out the question against Rav, it's not connected to Ovei Kochav, and therefore we have no question on Rav. But the bottom line now is, okay, so how do we decide? It seems to be pretty arbitrary. How do we decide when to make a bracha on the asiyah and when not to? Why, at the end of the day, it's not connected to Ovei Kochav? We just proved that. Because tefillin can't be made by Ovei Kochav, and yet there's no bracha. And yet Mila, which can't be done by Ovei Kochav, does have a bracha. So which one is it? How do we figure out when to make a bracha and when not to make a bracha on the asiyah? on the making. Says the Gemara, it's very easy. Kol mitzvah dasiyasa gemar mitzvah kagon mila avagav diksher b'vichavim b'Yisrael tzarich levarich. Kol mitzvah dasiyasa lav gemar mitzvah gon tefillin avagav dipsulas b'vichavim b'Yisrael eno tzarich levarich. Anytime that the asiyah, the making, is the mitzvah, you make the bracha. The mila, the making, is the mitzvah. When you do the mila, that's the mitzvah. That's the bracha. When you put up a mezuzah, I would say, that's the mitzvah. Therefore, you make the bracha. It's not making the mezuzah. It's the putting up of the mezuzah. So whatever is the mitzvah, that's when you make the bracha. The tefillin, the making, is not the mitzvah. It's a hechsher mitzvah, but it's not the making. The making is not the mitzvah. It's a putting on. Putting up the sukkah is not the mitzvah. Basukkos teshu, it's to sit in the sukkah. So anytime that the making is the mitzvah, i.e. mila, which quote unquote the making of whatever you're making is the mitzvah, that making is the mitzvah, you make the bracha. Not connected to whether a Jew or non-Jew, whether a non-Jew can do it or not. When the making is the mitzvah, you make the bracha. Therefore, again, all these cases, tefillin, it's not going to make a bracha on the making of the tefillin. Mila, you will. And the question now becomes by tzitzis. Because by tzitzis, the basis of the Rav Chisda's question, we've saved Rav, and we said, Rav, the reason that you don't make a bracha is because at the end of the day, what? The making is not the mitzvah. What was Rav Chisda's whole chiddush now? Rav Chisda seems to be asking the question based on the fact that he holds that you do make a bracha on tzitzis. I'll be very impressed. Think back to yesterday. What would Rav Chisda hold?
The garment itself.
Ah, beautiful, says the doctor.
Wow,
Look at him.
amazing. That's amazing.
So what does he hold? He would have to hold, the only way you'd have to make a bracha on tzitzis would be if you hold like the svara that says that the tzitzis, the chiyuv to put tzitzis on a beged is not when you wear it. It's every beged in your drawer needs to have tzitzis. Therefore, as soon as you make the beged, at the time, we dismissed it, so we don't hold like that, Lamaisa, but that's how he would hold. He would hold, the basis of his opinion that you would make a bracha on the making of the tzitzis would be that at the time that you go ahead and make the garment, it's chayiv and tzitzis right away. Therefore, asiyasa is gemar of the mitzvah. Therefore, you have to put it on, and you have to make the bracha when you're making the tzitzis.
Seems like we have a sensitivity to this, because I know when you do tzitzis, you're supposed to say Mashem mitzvah tzitzis.
That's something different. We're going to see that in a second. That's that the tviyah needs to be done lishma.
Oh,
That
I thought maybe sensitivity towards the bracha.
that the weaving needs to be done lishma. The entire process needs to be done lishma. But the actual bracha is only done when you put it on. Beautiful, doctor. With tzitzis baka mifligi, what's the svara to say that by tzitzis you'd have to go ahead and make a bracha when you're making the tzitzis, when you're putting them together? If you hold that every beged needs tzitzis, then when you put them on the beged, you're mekayim the mitzvah. Mar savar chovas talasu, umar savar chovas gaver. That's how we seem to hold. You only have to put it on if you actually wear it. Amalei Mordechai Ravashi. Ason hachi masnisula, anan hachi masnisula. You taught it that way. I teach it this way. Amar v'damar Rav minayin letzitzis b'avichav mishek sheresh nemar debel b'nei Yisrael v'yasulam tzitzis yasulam acherim. Fascinating. Where do you see that? What? Where do you see that it's mutter for Ovei Kachavim to make the tzitzis? Because it says vasulahem tzitzis. Somebody else needs to make them for you. Interesting drasha. Okay. Says the Gemara. Amar Yehuda Amar Rav. Asan min hakotzim u min hagime nimin u min hagradim psula min hasisin kshera. Ki amrisa kamei deshmol amar af min hasisin psula ba'inan tevia lishma. This is what you were alluding to. So what are these things? These are different type of strands. If you make tzitzis, you make tzitzis from the thorny threads that are protruding from the cloth. Let's say near the corner you have some thorny threads coming out. You don't have any tzitzis on the garment. You just have some here. You have a few threads over here. You have some thorny threads. Or let's say you have some extra thread hanging down from hemming the garment. Here, you hem the garment over here. We hem it in the corner here. So let's say some of this extra thread is hanging down. Or let's say there are just some fringes. If you make the tzitzis from those things that are hanging down, they're part of the same thing as the beged. Why can't you make it from the stuff? Why can't you make tzitzis from this, which are hanging down? It's tasev elo min asoy, because it wasn't put there for the purposes of making tzitzis. You have to put the tzitzis dafka on there with the intent to put on tzitzis. You can't just, right? I could theoretically, if this was longer, right? This was made in a way that it was, the fringes were made longer. So if the fringes would have been left longer, I could have made these into tzitzis. It says you can't do that because tasev elo min asoy, it wasn't made for tzitzis. You have to actually put on the tzitzis. And then the sisin are what? Sisin is when you have a ball. That's not when it's already on the garment. You have a ball of thread. So as a Gemara, you're allowed to take from the ball of thread, even though the ball wasn't woven lishma, you could take regular thread and put it on and use it as tzitzis. The other opinion, Shmuel says what? You can't do that because what? Not only do you have to put on the tzitzis the right way, the actual ball, mi'af min asisim psula ba'inan tviyah lishma, whatever you end up using for tzitzis has to be woven, has to be made. These tzitzis strings need to be made when they're made, it needs to be made lishma. That's what the Gemara says. Kitna, you see the same thing by tefillin. Tzipan zav, if you have gold boxes instead of leather boxes, or shetalale and or behemoth tmeo, you use the leather of a behemoth tmeo, non-kosher animal, psulos. Or behemoth tahora ksheros, if you use the ore of a kosher animal, it's kasher. V'ava pishlo ivdan lishman. Even though at the time that you tanned it, you didn't tan it, l'shem yichud for the tefillin. That's the opinion of what? That's the opinion of min hasis and kshera. That would be the equivalent that if you take a random bowl of thread and you use it for tzitzis, it wasn't woven for tzitzis, but it's kosher, just like if you have the leather that was made not for tzitzis, not for tefillin. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel Omer would be the same thing that Shmuel says, just like the ball of thread needs to be made what? Lishma for the tzitzis. So too, the ore of the behema, even if it's a tahora behema, when it's tanned, it needs to be tanned lishma of the tefillin. And that's how we hold. Afor behema tahora psulos achi yavdan lishman. Has to be tanned specifically for the purposes of the tefillin. You can't tan it for a leather jacket and then change your mind and use it for the tefillin. Says Gemara, Amalei Abayil of Shmuel bar Rav Yehuda. We're just going to get to 5 lines on the bottom, and then it's a new topic. We'll pick up here tomorrow. Amalei Abayil of Shmuel bar Rav Yehuda. Ha techil tehechit tzvisula. Very cool. How do you go ahead and color the tchelas? We know that you take regular strings. You take white strings. You said you have 2 white and 2 blue. How do you get the 2 blue strings? So you take 2 tzitzis strings, and you dip them into tchelas. Well, how do you get the tchelas? Says the Gemara, Amarlei, Maisinan dam chilazon. You take the blood of this chilazon fish, which is a whole discussion nowadays we don't have. Visimanin, and herbs. Viramina lehu biyore. You put them into a pot. Umartechinan le, roseach is boil. You boil them. Vishakilna porsa bibiasa, and you put a little bit of the dye into an eggshell. Vitamina lehu beandra. You take a random piece of wool and you dip it into the little bit of, again, this mixture that you took the dye from the big pot into a little eggshell, just like a little container to hold. You pour it in a little bit, and then you dip in the wool. V'shadinan leilahu biasa. Then you see if it's the right color. If it's the right color, if it does the right thing, then you know you're good to go. You know that the dye is the right color. But nevertheless, you have to pour out the dye that's in the shell. V'kalinan leila odra. And you have to throw out the testing wool. So again, you took a wool, you tested the dye. Whatever is left in the little thing, you can't pour back into the pot. And the actual wool that you use to test, you also have to throw out. Why? What do you learn from here? Shma mina tlash. You learn 3 things. And really, we're going to see it's only 2 things. The first 2 are the same. Shma mina te'ima psu. And the Gemara is going to say the second reason is explaining the first reason. You learn from here that the te'ima is going to mean 2 things. It's a taste, literally. The taste either means the dyed wool, or it means the leftover dye. Shma mina te'ima psula. You learn that the dyed wool is pasul. Ushma mina deba'in and tzviya lishma. The Gemara is explaining why, because it needs to be tzviya lishma. You need to color it for the purposes of tchelas. Why are you coloring this dyed wool? Not for the purposes of tchelas, to test the dye to see if it's the right color. So that's really one reason. Ushma mina te'ima pasla. What else do you learn? You learn that the leftover dye is pasla, will pasel the rest of the dye if you pour it back in. That's what the Gemara says.
It's also used for testing.
Seemingly also, because it was because it lost part of the color, as we'll see in a second.
Oh.
Part of the color was lost. Hainu ti'ima psula, hainu tzviya lishma. The first reasons are the same. Ravashi, matam kamar, you're right. Matam ti'ima psula. Why is the wool that you dyed to test the dye pasol? Mishum deba'inan tzviya lishma. Because when you dyed it, it wasn't lishma. Lemaisa, you did it to check out the color. Kitnai. Now this idea, what?
But it's for tchelet, so it's all.
But again, you're not doing it lishma. You're doing it to test it. You're doing it to test it. Therefore, you have to throw out that. Right, but you can't dip it to test it. You need to dip it l'shem the mitzvah of tcheles. Kitnai, and the fact that the leftover dye is pasul. Why is the leftover dye pasul? It's a t'nai. It's a machlokas tanaim. You like the second opinion. What? Ti'ima psula mishum shenamar kilil tcheles. Because it needs to be kulo techeles. The techeles that you have, the string that you have, has to be fully techeles. And somehow the Gemara is learning that when you dip in one piece of wool into the techeles, it takes away a little bit of the color. I would have thought there's just a little bit left. It's actually diluting, this says the Gemara, this is the machlokas. It's a machlokas metzius, it sounds like. It's diluting the color and making it a little bit of a lighter color. 0.00001%. So what it sounds like to me, again, I don't know for sure, because it's not telling you have to actually do it. It's telling you how to make the dye. But what it sounds like is that every string, you need to take out a little bit into an eggshell, put the string in, and then throw out the
Yeah,
rest.
'cause you couldn't
But
put a
what-
second
what-
Because
string
if you
anyway.
can't put it back, then you can't dip it again. Because if it lost a little bit of the color when you dip the first string, then you can't dip the second string in there either. That's what it sounds like.
Why does it lose color? Because you
I know, it doesn't make sense.
Volume.
Doctor, don't give me a hard time. I didn't write this Gemara. That I promise you. But that's how I'm understanding, unless I'm understanding you wrong. Ti'ima psula, mishum shenamar, kliel techelas. It's
The science behind it,
pasol.
by the way, is that it hits the air, rechanges the color. There's a whole article on this.
oxidize it.
Right, but it'll oxidize even before you pour in the techelas, no?
It's not putting the string in.
So maybe once you put the string in and
It
you
could
take
be.
it out, it changes the color, and therefore it's not the same thing anymore.
It could be. Well, look at the Rashi. Look at the Rashi. Ti'ima psula. Im irat seva nisayon biyore posel es kol yore, mishum shenamar kliel techelas, kol techelas ba'inan kalil, sheyeh kol ikar mare hachilazon betzemer. You need the full color of the chilazon in the wool. Shelo yeh davar acher tzavua ba mitchilasa. That nothing else was tzavua ba from the beginning. Again, maybe there's another way to understand it. Maybe the art scroll quickly you tell me, but the way I'm understanding it is that you can't pour it back in because when you dip in this techelas, one second, let's just finish up. When you dip in this techelas, it loses a little bit of the color. If it loses a little of the color, you can't pour that back in. And seemingly, the way I'm extracting it is that you can't go ahead now, and you can't go ahead and you can't put another techelas in there, extrapolating it. You can't put in another techelas. Dear Rabbi Chanina bar Gamliel, Rabbi Yochanan ben Dahavai Omer afilu mare sheni shebakash mishv'nem bar ushni tolas. Now it's interesting. These two things of kliot techelas and shni tolas are not by techelas, but we're learning them shni tolas that it could even be the sheni. Well, if it could even be the sheni, then he would seemingly argue and say you can pour it back. And shni tolas, he would seemingly say that you could dip it more than once. Again, I don't know, it doesn't actually say how to do the techelas at the end of the day, but it sounds like according to the first opinion, you can only use it once. That's why you put it into the eggshell, you dip in one string, then you get rid of it. You put in a little bit more, you dip in the next string, you get rid of it. And according to the second opinion, you can use it more than once. I don't know if you can use it more than twice, you can use it more than once, and therefore seemingly you dip in once, then you can dip in again, and shalom ha'yisrael.